We've had a lot of technical questions about what happens here at GTV, and the man who seems to have all the answers is one of the legends of television, Pete Smith. Pete, thank you very much for joining us again. We really appreciate it.
You're very kind to say I know all the answers. I don't, but that Earth station there is our link with the outside world. Firstly up to Sydney via the satellite, which is sitting over Noumea. It's about 36,000 kilometres up to the satellite over Noumea, give or take a few thousand, and then another 36 down into the car park at our sister station, the network emanator, TCN. So the signal goes up there, bounced off the satellite, the size of a car almost, and then down into the car park in Sydney and back out to the rest of the world. Quite amazing, really.
Now, Pete, the thing that strikes me about this satellite dish is that it seems much lower than a lot of other satellite dishes I've seen.
Yes, in deference to the residential area we're in here in Richmond, it was sunk into the ground, so it's down in a pit, quite way down in a pit. Otherwise, it would be up as tall as the Link Hut there, which replaced the old Wertheim piano factory and Heinz soup factory chimney, which we originally used to use when television started in '57.
Welcome to A Sigley Affair. I'm Mike Minion. In a divorce action in America today, a Mr. Clark Kent appeared in court, accused by his wife of not having sufficient sexual drive. In his defense, Mr. Kent claimed that someone keeps putting kryptonite inside his jockey shorts.
You know, when television first started, we did test transmissions because when you bought a television set in '57, you had to have a technician come out and tune the set.
Is that right?
Absolutely. In the black and white set, you had a technician come out. That's why they had test patterns on all day. People were staring at test patterns. It was such a novelty, wasn't it? Let's face it.
Absolutely.
You had to have a technician come out and tune your little black and white set. Now, what happens? You buy your giant 50-inch plasma and they say, hooroo, out the door.
Yeah, that's right.
Out the door. Oh, look at this.
Now, it's great because that phone call covered a long walk over to here, but this is a piece of television history, and I'm a little bit geeky for this stuff. I'm very excited about this. This is how television used to be made.
It certainly is. It's the camera crane that took 3 people to operate it. The cameraman sat up there on the top of the pedestal. Then down here on the counterweight, as you follow it down, there was another operator to swing the camera around to get the different angles. And then, of course, for the mobility of the whole thing, it was motorised, of course. You had the operator here, you know, operating the whole caboodle. So 3 people operating this machine when I first laid eyes on it back in the IMT days.
And poor old Mitch is trying to help us out by bringing it down so we can have a look at it. Thank you, Mitch.
The old Pi camera, one of the original black and white cameras. I think they had about 3 of them when we started, only about 3, which had to be taken out to things like the Olympic Games, for instance, and then brought back for the news. So you can imagine the workload that these beautiful little babies did. And look at that, isn't that exciting? 3 lenses, telephoto lens, close-up lens, medium shot lens, fantastic. And we used to mug into those night after night.
And they literally had to turn around to be the active one. You couldn't zoom in and out like you can now.
No, you could not, no, and the director upstairs would have to cut away from this while you turned the turret around. Marvellous. And the first person I saw sitting in this chair was Ian Crawford, one of the famous Crawford family, who later went on to Crawford Productions for Matlock Police, Solo One, The Sullivans, done only a few feet from where we're standing. So history, we got it in loads.
And the special thing about this camera is I believe it might actually be the one that that famous scene of Graham Kennedy when he lost control of his desk. This is the camera.
Oh, this is it. The dent. Can't you look? There's the dent down there now. Oh, yeah. The actual dent. Yes. Yeah, there's Graham Kennedy's footprint in there. He almost broke his foot.
Now, that is the thing about here, the history. I mean, it blows my mind. Everywhere you walk around, it's history, history, history. And that will be sorely missed.
It will. This is a back lot that we're standing on now, which really is very ordinary in the cold light of day. But we have shot so many outside sequences here for shows. You know, you've only got to go out here put a few potted palms strategically into position, and you got yourself a jungle movie, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
And we shot a lot of the early dramas in the black and white days out here. Of course, with colour it was more critical, we couldn't do it. But, you know, out in this place, if the bushes could speak, boy, would they have a tale to tell.
Well, and Pete, how many shows do you think you did in your time here at Nine?
Oh golly, it's in the hundreds and hundreds, and as I say, with the audience, there would be millions of people who came in for those live shows. And you know, there's something, an added attraction about that, an added bonus for the company, is that you have those people come through your studio and see behind the scenes, and when they leave, you've got an opportunity to make them leave in a happy state of mind. And so, let's face it, everything's perception in television. Why do they watch 9/7? It's not just the programs, it's the mood, it's the atmosphere created, and you get a chance to create that goodwill with those people night after night after night. 200 people come through to watch Sale of the Century. Well, another 200 come through for the night. You know, it just adds up.
I think, especially now, I think people are starting to realise how much GTV9, these facilities, will be missed. The comments we've had on our Facebook site, all we keep hearing is please do more tours, please show us more bits and pieces, whether it's the satellite, whether it's the camera, whether it's the bricks out the front. You know, I mean,
I can remember when we filled this car park, it was just a dirt car park in those days, back in the mid-70s. We filled it with snow, and we had an actual Tonight Show in the snow. And we had a deal with the guy.
And it wasn't fake snow, it was real
No, it was
ice.
real snow with a ski jump. We had guys come in and do some stunts and stuff and throw, you know, made snowmen and all this. No, it was thick on the ground. No cars allowed in for 3 days while we set it up.
Wow.
They were the days.
They were the days. Well, Pete, I know you said that you provided people with a nice feeling when they came to GTV9. I think you've done that from people watching GTV9 and all the years.
Thanks.
People throughout Australia. I'm a Sydney boy, and I think you're an absolute legend, and it is such an honour to meet you. Thank you so much for joining us for this tour.
Been a pleasure.
I'm trying not to fawn, but it's a little hard not to.
It's lovely, it's nice. I can take all that. I'll give you 10 minutes to stop.
So thank you once again.
Pleasure.
It's been very interesting. Keep your comments coming to facebook.com/9news, and we'll have some more videos soon. Thanks again.
for watching too.
Well, GTV9 is full of history, and no one knows the history of GTV9 better than Pete Smith. Pete, it is such a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for these videos. And there is so much history here at GTV9, isn't there?
Absolutely. Well, for instance, right now here in the courtyard outside the Cafe 22, as they call it, being 22 Bendigo Street, Richmond, look, we are standing on one of the true landmarks of Channel 9 in Richmond, and that is the GTV chimney.
So there's a chimney on the ground?
Yeah, there is. You notice the bricks are narrower one end than they are the other. You can't buy bricks like that because they're specially made for a chimney, and they were installed for the Wertheim piano factory originally. Then later, when Wertheim got out of the business, the Heinz soup factory took over. You remember 57 varieties? Well, they made about 22 of them here, including a lot of packs, war packs for the diggers during the war, were made on this site.
And the chimney, when it actually was still up on the building, it served a purpose for 9 as well.
It served a big purpose because it was our link through to Mount Dandenong, our microwave link, to get our pictures and sound up there so we could transmit to the greater Melbourne area. Yeah.
It's such a fascinating history, and there's a plaque here, and you were telling me before that it was quite unusual for the Prime Minister of the country to open a factory like the one that was built here.
It was pretty unique back in 1908, and about 2 years before, Hugo Wertheim, the young fellow who'd come out from Germany to open the piano factory, was on a train, so legend has it, going to Sydney looking for sites. He couldn't find anything in Melbourne. The MP on the train he got friendly with suggested he go back to Melbourne and check out another few sites. He recommended the Richmond site, and the rest is history. Then the MP becomes Prime Minister and comes down and does the big favour, lays the foundation stone. Pretty great, really.
A nice coincidence. And Pete, as we come to the end of GTV9 here at 22 Bendigo Street, you've been here for 47-something years. What are the biggest memories you'll take away with you?
Well, I think the comings and going of the general public. We have had literally millions of people through in our live audiences. There has never been anywhere else in Australia, let alone the world, that had such a prolific output of local live production. In the early days it was all live because it had to be. There was no videotape. The kinescope process, the old black and white film, looked very dated. You couldn't pass it off the way you do today with Eddie and Hot Seat. So we had to do things live. So everything from early in the morning until close at night was all done live. Can you imagine the hectic atmosphere, but the exciting atmosphere? And mind you, I was a young bloke then, I could cut the mustard.
Well, I was about to say the parties too, I can imagine, that took place here.
Yes, not just the parties, but there was some naughty goings on here with the Stars, because it was really like a stock company of players. Within Melbourne Tonight, which was 5 nights a week, headed up by the likes of Graham Kennedy and Bert and so forth, I had a bit part in it. Thank God I had a bit part in it. I've still got a bit part, otherwise I wouldn't be here. But you can imagine 300 people working on that show, 300 people on the staff, a live orchestra on the staff, not brought in casually for a show, on the staff, singers, 12 of them on the staff, a ballet, a full ballet, boys and girls, 12 of them on the staff.
It is amazing when you think about those figures. 300 people working.
It'll never come again.
No. It was a wonderful period of time, and to be part of that just must be amazing.
It's fabulous. Timing's everything in this business, and TV was such a novelty. I mean, I knew nothing about it. We were getting away with murder night after night, because the public, you know, they were looking at this one-eyed monster. They'd paid quite a lot of money for it, you know, probably a little 17-inch. That was the main size in those days, 17-inch. If you were very rich, you could get a 22-inch or something.
Wow.
So, you know, it was a big deal, and they were just watching it. And no matter what you did, the next day you were a star. And you were sort of mixed. I was flogging Colvan potato chips or something, or your lumber wines, because the live commercials, that was the staple. And the difference between the sell and the entertainment of the commercial was smudged. So I think the record, Graham did a Pal dog food commercial. His dog came on, Rover the Wonder Dog, a Labrador Retriever, wouldn't eat the Pal dog food, but by gee, they moved the tins off the shelf the next day.
And that was part of the magic, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And there weren't the regulations that are in place now. A 60-second commercial could run 25 minutes if somebody was in a mad mood. Such was the entertainment.
Well, Pete, thank you very much for taking the time out.
It's a pleasure.
Pete is actually going to join us again for a very special trip in our next video, so stay tuned. Keep going to facebook.com/9news. Post some comments, questions, whatever you want to put up there, but keep watching, because something very special is coming up.
And remember, these videos are the videos of the century.